Sales are up 12%, listings are down 13%. Could this be the shift we've all been waiting for? Is the attached market on fire right now? Let's find out. In this video, I will break down the pricing trends, price movements, key market drivers so you can stay informed and make good decisions in the housing market this year. This is a market update for the attached market in February 2025. And we're going to break down this video into three sections. First being sales and inventory trends. Next, we're going to look at benchmark price. And then lastly, we're going to look at key market drivers with a big conclusion in the end. So stay tuned. Let's get into it. Section number 1, sales and inventory trends, how the market is moving. So in February 2025, there were 359 attached home sales. This is a 10.9% decrease from the 403 sales there were in February 2024. So a decrease in sales year over year definitely shows signs that the market is cooling. A lot of this decline I would attribute to higher borrowing costs, and then a big shift in buyer sentiment moving into later in the year and then early this year. There's also been an increase in inventory, giving buyers way more options. So it really does look like it's coming down to affordability concerns and then changing market conditions. And despite the big decrease in home sales year over year, we haven't seen nearly the same thing when it comes to pricing year over year. We'll talk about that in the next section, but it is pretty impressive how resilient the market has been despite all of the downward pressure there's been on the market this past year. And we have definitely felt this shift in the market year over year because buyers are seeing way less competition, more negotiating power, and they have a lot of options on the market right now. A lot of the buyers I'm working with were able to get full subjects, subject to sale on a lot of offers, which doesn't go through in a hot buyer or a hot seller's market, are being accepted, and we're able to get these homes on the market and trying to get those subjects removed. Buyers also seem to be taking their time and making sure they see a lot of options on the market before finally pulling the trigger, because right now they do have that luxury of time. But let's get into the sales numbers for month over month. So like I mentioned, there were 359 attached home sales in February 2025, and there were 321 attached home sales in January 2025. This is an increase of 11.8%, indicating seasonal pickup in activity. December and January are very slow, so it is good to see that there was an uptick in sales numbers this month. Even though they are much lower than they were this time last year, it does show that buyer confidence is returning as we approach the spring market. And then when you combine this with more rate cuts happening later in 2025, and in March we are expecting a 25 basis point rate cut, March 13th to be exact, some buyers may be entering the market now to get ahead of the competition. These buyers fear that lower interest rates down the road will drive competition up and therefore prices going up as well. Right now they're in a market where prices are still stable, but they have a lot of selection. They're able to negotiate more, get full subjects, and have time to make a good decision. Okay, now we're going to look at listings numbers, year over year listings and then month over month listings. So for year over year listings, February 2025, there were 927 active listings. This is a 13% decrease from 1,065 listings in February 2024. And the first thing that I think of when I see that listings are lower year over year, it does seem sellers are holding off, mainly because they're expecting price stability and future gains down the road. With the higher interest rates last year, it really does seem that sellers were not confident that they would get the best price for their property. And if they had the luxury of being able to wait and time the market to maximize proceeds, then they would just wait for a better opportunity in the new year. Especially when watching interest rates drop, it does give sellers more confidence that buyer demand will pick up later in the year when interest rates are lower and they can get a better price on their home if they were to list. And I believe this is why we're not seeing a big downward trajectory on prices even if sales were down year over year, because the restriction in supply and these homeowners waiting to put their homes on the market could prevent prices from declining significantly, despite, softer sales. So now let's look at the month over month listings numbers. So active listings actually decreased from 1,065 listings in January 2025 to 927 listings in February 2025. This is a 13% decrease. A drop in listings like this suggests that some sellers are waiting for better conditions, like I already mentioned, and this contributes to more balance. That being said, it does seem that buyers still have quite a lot of options on the market right now. But if we see the listing numbers start to decrease month over month, we may see a big shift in where the power lies. Right now, buyers have a lot of power when it comes to negotiating terms, conditions, and pricing. But if buyers have fewer options, then suddenly the sellers will have more negotiating power. So now let's move on to section number 2, pricing trends, how pricing is actually moving. So we're going to look at year-over-year benchmark price changes, month-over-month benchmark price changes, and then sales to active listings ratios, my favorite. So first, year-over-year benchmark price changes, down 1.2% from 1,100,000 in February 2024. So we are seeing a slight correction in prices, which reflects more of a balanced market than a steep decline we'd see in an aggressive buyer's market. Attached homes are still a popular option for families and buyers seeking affordability compared to detached homes. When we're looking at listings and sales, there's huge difference in year-over-year numbers, but when we look at benchmark price, it's only a slight change. It does show the complexities of the real estate market and how there are so many different factors driving prices up and driving prices down, but pricing in Vancouver is still stable. But despite the uncertainty, pricing in Vancouver still remains stable and resilient. Let's see if it's the same for the month-over-month benchmark price change. The benchmark price in February 2025 was $1,087,000. This is a 1.7% decrease from $1,105,000 in January 2025. So a 1.7% decrease in benchmark price month over month could suggest that sellers are now adjusting their price to attract buyers. And with my buyers and sellers active in the market right now, it really does seem to be the case. The listings that are pricing aggressively in the market are the ones that are actually getting sales. If you're overpriced in this market, you have a hard time because as new listings come on, they'll start to undercut the overpriced listings. So they never really get a good position in the market. And oftentimes the only solution is to decrease pricing. And buyers are noticing this too, especially the ones that I'm working with. If one seller is not willing to adjust their price, we have other options to move over to, and hopefully those sellers are willing to adjust their price. Now let's look at the sales to active listings ratio. So right now, the sales to active listings ratio in attached homes for February 2025 is 18.5%. This is down from 20.3% in January 2025, indicating a shift towards a more balanced market. So for your reference, a ratio in between 12% and 20% suggests a balanced market. If we're over 20%, we're going to be in a seller's market, meaning sellers have the advantage in negotiations. And if we're under 12%, that means it's a buyer's market, meaning buyers have more power during the negotiations. A sales to active listing ratio of 18% is pretty good because it means that neither the buyers nor sellers have a significant advantage. This means that buyers and sellers can have more time to make decisions and get fair prices on their homes. But we will see if inventory numbers continue to drop and the sales numbers continue to increase, we could see the sales to active listing ratio change from a balanced market now to a seller's market down the road. This is also reinforced with interest rates coming down, spring market around the corner. One thing I might touch on later on in this video is the pent-up listing demand. So a lot of sellers that are holding off on putting their homes on the market until there are more favorable conditions. So even if there are these indicators that say pricing may be going up down the road, it may not be accounting for all the sellers that will be listing their market. And if there's an influx of supply that overpowers the amount of new demand on the market, prices will actually either stay the same or start to come down a little bit. Okay, section number 3, key market drivers, what's influencing supply and demand. So we're going to look at who's actually buying in this market, who's selling in this market, and then interest rates, financing, and other key external factors that are affecting the market. So who's buying right now? Well, we're seeing buyers in this segment include families, first-time home buyers, and people that are trying to upsize, looking for a balance between space and affordability. With mortgage rates expected to decrease later this year, some buyers are entering the market early, anticipating a busier spring and fall market. So they're trying to make a purchase now before prices start to creep up. Townhomes still remain in demand for families who can't afford a detached home but still want more space than a condo. And in a market like this where pricing is trending downwards, buyers will actually save more on a larger home than what they will lose on the sale of their smaller home. So it's actually a net benefit if you are looking to upsize in a market like this. I also mentioned first-time home buyers. I'm working with a lot of first-time home buyers right now that are seeing interest rates come down. There's a lot of good pricing and incentives right now, and And these buyers have a lot of selection that they didn't have in the past. So who is actually selling right now? Well, I already mentioned upsizers, so people moving from a condo to a townhome. But there are also the upsizers who are selling that are moving from a townhome to a detached home. Because there are some more affordable options right now for detached homes, they also changed the lending rules to where you can actually buy a detached home under $1.5 million without a full 20%. So if you're purchasing at 1.4999 million, you only need $150,000 down approximately. But if you are looking to purchase on a home over $1.5 million, suddenly you need at least $300,000. A huge difference. So with the affordable pricing and the new affordable lending rules, right now getting into a detached home, jumping up from your townhome to a single family home, seems to be a really good option for those buyers. Especially right now with a lot of selection, buyers are able to shop many different homes and find the one that's perfect for their family in a location that they want. Now let's take a quick look at interest rates and financing. So the Bank of Canada has hinted at a potential rate cut mid-2025, a series of rate cuts actually. They're expecting a 25 basis point cut in March 2025. As rates decrease, more buyers are expected to enter the market, driving competition. These buyers are expected to be able to afford more, therefore applying upward pressure on pricing as they compete with one another, especially if sellers continue to hold off on listing their home until rate drops later in the year. And as of right now, I believe it is safe to assume that on a long enough time frame, prices will go up. I expected a bigger jump in pricing last year when when interest rates started to come down, but it seems like now that interest rates are at a reasonable level and are still dropping, it may drive some more upward pressure on pricing and more buyer demand. Okay, and now some external factors that are affecting attached homes. So with condos and townhomes facing higher strata fees, some buyers may opt for detached homes or a half duplex instead. That way they're saving on that monthly strata fee. And then there are also government policies that are aimed at increasing housing supply. This could impact market dynamics later in the year as it becomes easier to construct townhomes. But now the option of building more detached homes with an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, or multiple suites, duplex, triplex, quadplex, these may become more abundant and easier to construct than a townhome complex on a smaller lot. So we may see a change in supply of townhomes down the road, something to keep an eye on. And now in conclusion, recommendations and market outlook for buyers. More inventory means better selection and negotiating opportunities. With potential rate cuts in 2025, buying now could allow you to lock in a home before competition increases. And again, with potential rate cuts in 2025, if they actually do start cutting rates, it is expected that pricing will also start to increase. So you may be looking at more competition, higher prices. Right now is starting to seem like a really good time to get in the market. I would suggest focusing on areas where demand is softer, so these may offer way better deals in the long term. And now for sellers, pricing is crucial. You need to price competitively. As the market is fairly balanced, buyers have a good amount of options and they're not making decisions very fast. Spring could bring more buyer activity, but it could bring competition from other listings. Like I mentioned, there seems to be some pent-up listing demand where sellers are holding off. If they were to come to the market at the same time, it could have a negative effect on pricing. And if inventory remains tight, attached homes could hold value well through 2025. So for market outlook in the short term, we are seeing balanced conditions. Prices are remaining fairly steady and good opportunities for buyers. And then in the mid to long term, so later in the year, we will see potential price increases if rates continue to drop, but the market will shift depending on supply levels. Like I said, if more listings are coming to the market with the increased buyer demand, if that supply overwhelms the amount of demand on the market, we'll see a downward shift in prices. But if listing supply does remain restricted and buyers are eating up the current inventory on the market, we will see upward pressure on prices. So the attached home market is balancing, a big difference than what we saw in January 2025. But the question remains, should you buy now or should you wait? Let me know in the comments. I would love to read and I will respond to every single one of them. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to like the video and subscribe. I'm putting multiple market update videos out every single month. I put out the detached market update. This was an attached market update. I'll put out a condo market update and then do this all again for March 2025. So I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.